Hello, and welcome to this masterclass that we've put together with the University of Pretoria. I welcome you to this session as I help you build out your professional brand. I'll be sharing a little bit more later on about some of the key things that you need to do to build your profile. But before we go into that, what is this session about? It's about helping students, graduates, and also the alumni find new economic opportunities. As we go through the current health crisis that we have, of course, our employers, hiring managers, and potential people that would work for are currently changing the way that they do recruitment and selection. UP has decided to invest in this session so that it can help its alumni get access to new economic opportunities. We will be taking questions as we go through the presentation itself. I encourage you, please, to ask your questions on Slido, where we'll be showing some of these where we'll be responding to some of the questions that you might have to ask. In terms of Slido and where you can find additional details on asking these questions, our first question is going to be what you rank most in terms of a priority for you, whether you're a student, a graduate, or an alumni that's currently looking for a job. So if you can, please download Slido and use the hashtag LeadUP27. That's where you're going to find the questions that you can ask, and then I'll respond to them as we go through this presentation. Welcome to this session. In terms of expectations, what we're going to cover today is get a common understanding of how LinkedIn can help you as a student find new economic opportunities, learn, grow your network, and find possible mentors and social leaders that you can follow. We'll also cover how we can help you become a social leader in today's digital economy. I hope this is what you're expecting and that you've got questions available for me that I can help you answer that have always been a mystery to you. Without wasting time, this is a recorded session. There'll be a lot of data that I'll share with you, but you're welcome to watch the replay. And we encourage you to share the replay with other students, with other graduates, or other professionals. Let's get started. Let's start off by getting to a common understanding of what LinkedIn is. The best way to figure out what LinkedIn is maybe to look at other social media platforms that we might be familiar with. As a student, you might have access to some of these social media platforms that I've put up on the screen. And if we were to think of the analogy of donuts, donuts are common and donuts are available everywhere. But how we speak about donuts differs on the different platforms. You might share it with your friends on Facebook. You might let people watch you eat a donut on Snapchat. You might even share donut recipes on platforms like Pinterest. But how does this differ when it comes to LinkedIn? Because after all, a lot of us look at LinkedIn as a social media platform. But what is the difference? The difference is LinkedIn is your professional network. The tone that you use on LinkedIn differs from the tone that you would use on other platforms. So if we were to look at LinkedIn and how we would project ourselves on LinkedIn, here's some classic examples of how the same subject around donuts might differ when we're on LinkedIn. As you can see on the screen, your tone will be more professional, talking about opportunities, talking about leaders, talking about people that can help you grow your business, find investors, or coach you in the donut industry. So our tone on LinkedIn is different from other platforms. But this is not to say that LinkedIn is a dull and drab and professional network only. But no, LinkedIn is an exciting network where you can share your personal perspective, your personal insights as we go onto the platform. I'll be showing you how you can do that and start engaging your network. So what's changed and what's brought about University of Pretoria to host us on this session? This is the first LinkedIn Live session for University of Pretoria, and I'd like to make a special announcement. University of Pretoria is the first university in Africa to have a LinkedIn live stream. So thank you for this opportunity, University of Pretoria. Why they asked this and why they invited me to come and have this session with you is that in my daytime job, I am a talent solutions manager working with enterprises, institutions, and universities on how they can find the right talent, find people like you. In reverse, I've taken time to join a program that we run at LinkedIn, which is called Rock Your Profile. I've got my rockstar hat on today, and I'm here to try and help coach you to become a rock star on this professional network. The reason behind this is that the way employers look for people has changed. Again, the business world, if you should wish to join that, or even the public sector, is facing unprecedented changes, not only brought about by the health situation that we have, but has been brought about by getting now global competitors competing with organizations beyond the local borders. Again, as you well know, technology itself has led the charge in terms of transforming the way that we play, the way that we work, and the way that we engage and interact with each other. As a student, you have a phenomenal advantage because you're constantly engaging with technology. And this session is to now enhance your knowledge of how to use technology to build your personal profile. I'd also like to highlight some of the critical skills that companies have been looking for. This will be based on data that we have acquired at LinkedIn, based on the jobs that companies have been putting out there, so that you know what skills to grow that will help enhance your chance to get new economic opportunities. With that in mind, let me share our mission statement. What brings me to work every day? Well, our mission statement is to connect the world's professionals together so that they can become more successful and more productive. And when we talk about connecting you, it's giving you access to opportunities beyond just jobs. It's giving you access to opportunities like social leadership, learning, marketing, and selling the products that you have. And of course, as you well know, getting access to jobs is what some of us are on this call to hear about. So, as a student, what would be the top 3 things that I would say LinkedIn can do for you right now? And again, if you are a graduate, some of this is still equally applicable. First thing is to connect and to make meaningful connections. LinkedIn, unlike other social media platforms, is not a popularity contest. What does that mean? That means the people we connect with will ultimately influence the type of information that we're getting on our LinkedIn feed. So make meaningful connections. Take time to look at the people you've connected with, the people you haven't connected with, and constantly refresh that list of people that you're connected to and those that you'd like to connect to. A pro tip here, if you're a student and you're reaching out to an executive or even reaching out to a hiring manager, it's important that you give them a reason to connect with you. Take the time to write a small paragraph highlighting why you would like to connect with someone, what you appreciate about their content, and of course, telling them what you would like to get out of the relationship. That does not mean immediately jumping in and saying, I'd love to get a job with you. Maybe save that for later after you've established a relationship. The second thing is for you as a student, if you're about to go for an interview or you're about to put together a proposal that can get you investors, you can use LinkedIn as a sounding board for some of your ideas. You can use LinkedIn again to go out there and stay informed on the current trends that are happening within your industry. Thirdly, of course, you can use LinkedIn to get hired, and that's what we'll be focusing on in this session. In terms of what you can do with LinkedIn as a student, I just thought maybe I should take time first to tell you how big LinkedIn is and why it's important for you to build your profile and your background. So, LinkedIn is growing phenomenally every day. We have at least 3 new members joining every single second. That means worldwide today, our number is plus 690 million, which means you as a student should take the time to ensure that you stand out, to distinguish your personal brand, and to ensure that you're connected to organizations and people that can help you access those new economic opportunities. What's more, LinkedIn is a place where we have over 39 million students currently on the platform, which means if you've always been struggling with how to build your profile or how to connect with other students, what you could do is do a search on LinkedIn and find out how other people are branding themselves and find out how these people have taken their careers to the next level. There are over 90,000 schools, including the University of Pretoria, who's currently hosting us for this session. So you can find specialist skills that would help you progress your career. I see already we have a question coming through. Tsepo, how are you doing? And thank you very much for reaching out. The first question we have, and as I said earlier on, let's use Slido to engage. What's the number one thing and the biggest impact regarding employability through LinkedIn? Oh, you're going to have to wait for that answer because it's all embedded in the various things that I'm going to be showing you today. Think of LinkedIn as going to the gym. You're not just going to go to the gym to work out your arms, otherwise the rest of your body is disproportional. There's several muscles that we need to exercise in order for us to have fantastic profiles, network with the right people, deliver our thought leadership, and access new economic opportunities. We'll definitely get into that question in a bit more depth as we go on. Now let's start our process of getting noticed, building our profile. I'll go through this quite quickly, as I said, because it's a recorded meeting. I want to save time for us to interact and answer some of the pressing questions that you might have. So with that in mind, let's look at what it takes to have a great profile. First of all, let's look at our profile photograph. Did you know most people will only connect with someone if you have a photograph? You can get up to 21 times more views on your profile when you have a photograph. And here's a pro tip that I've learned over time. Most people will first look for you using a mobile device. What that means is you've got limited real estate in which to put out your best profile photograph. So my pro tip is try and make 60% of your profile photo your face. Let people see that warm, engaging smile. And what's more, as a second pro tip, as you can see in the image that I've got on the screen, on the background photograph, don't leave it as the standard LinkedIn blue colors. Go in there and use that valuable real estate to engage your audience. And as you build out your profile, as you edit your profile, you might want to think, who is the target audience? Who am I trying to reach? Is it prospective employers or could it be investors? What image would stimulate them? And here on images, I would encourage you to use authentic images. Or if you should, look for a stock image, make sure you have all the permissions to use it. Again, another pro tip here is dress for the industry that you want to work in. If you must show from shoulders up what you look like. I see we've received another question from Keegan Hoog. Welcome and thank you very much for joining and using Slido to ask questions. It says here, how important are skilled endorsements on LinkedIn? Guys, you're stealing my thunder. I'm definitely going to get to that question as we progress. Number 2, and a really important one, especially if you're a student. On this session today, I've got my colleague, Marius Grief. I've taken a look at his profile and he happens to be a University of Pretoria alumni. With Marius, he's gone and made sure that his profile indicates the logo of the University of Pretoria. I've noticed, having worked with university students across Africa, that this is one of the mistakes that our fellow students make as an error. Most of us try and type in the name of the university as we know it. But what you will come to find out is our institutions have put in the right wording for how they want to be recognized on the platform. So my pro tip is, if you look at your profile and you don't see your logo for the University of Pretoria, you need to go back in, click on the little pencil button to edit, and then type in University of PRE. And after that, LinkedIn will give you the rest of the names that are available under institutions that have University or PRE. Of course, you want to pick University of Pretoria. What that will do for you is that will get you affiliated to the institution, and that you will become part of its vast alumni network. This is so important as we start thinking about how we use our networks to amplify the messages we're sending out, to have informational interviews, and then more importantly, to actually prepare for interviews or seek referrals for jobs that we've seen advertised. So this is a super important tip. Go back to your profile after this session and check and make sure that you've got the logo showing for the institution. Next is adding work experience. And I know I've had students ask me this question in terms of, what work experience should I put? I haven't started working. Well, you'll be surprised what experience you have. Perhaps over the summer, you did an internship. Perhaps during the time when you were in university, you volunteered and you participated in activities that helped the university. Perhaps you help in a family business, or as a student, you have a side hustle. This is all experience. A lot of students also go on to ask me, Stuart, what if this experience is not related to the industry I'm going into? Well, here's my answer for that. Companies are looking for diversity. Companies are looking for creative people. With that in mind, it means that there's nothing you should shy away from in terms of putting in as part of your work experience. This will show your recruiters, this will show your hiring managers that you have an entrepreneurial spirit and that you have not waited to get formal employment in order to start using, harnessing, and refining the skills that you've got. So please don't shy away from sharing stories around the work that you have done, whether it was for short-term, volunteer, or during your academic years. And what's more important here as a pro tip is that LinkedIn allows you to put rich media behind it. What rich media? Rich media like photographs, videos, slides that will help demonstrate this work experience that you have. So put in an image if you have permission to use it. Put in a YouTube video from the organization that you did work for, but be ready to tell the story in terms of what your contribution was in order to make that organization or government body successful. So go out there and have a look at what's already available in the public domain for the organizations that you have done work for. Put it into your LinkedIn profile. It helps visually stimulate our recruiters and, of course, our hiring managers. And as a pro tip, if you must find a video or if you are going to record a video, make it around 2 minutes or less. I'm getting quite a lot of questions here. Cliff, I see you've just dropped in a question and says here, how can one get the best value from LinkedIn Premium? Again, I'm going to go into LinkedIn Premium and talk about what are the advantages of having a LinkedIn Premium account and, of course, keeping your standard account, which comes at no charge at all. Next, let's talk about volunteer experience. Oftentimes, I've seen students ignore this portion of LinkedIn and have not populated the work that they've done around volunteer experience. This is absolutely critical, folks, as companies want to understand you holistically as a person. What do you stand for? What are your values? What causes matter to you? Because guess what? When you join those organizations, those very same companies already have CSR initiatives, corporate social responsibility initiatives. Perhaps this could be a great door opener for you volunteering to actually run and participate in some of those initiatives. So if you have volunteered, go in and put in that information about your volunteer experience. What's more, as a student, you have certain accomplishments that you can put on your profile that will help your profile stand out. So if you've won any awards, citations, or you've been recognized, go in and put in those accomplishments and awards and honors so that your profile stands out. And we will go into groups and talk more about how you can leverage that. On volunteer experience, I've just put on the screen for you to see an example of some of the accomplishments that you might have, and also to highlight some of the learning that you've taken on and some of the honors and publications that you've brought about, and of course, the interests that you have. Interests are important. The companies that you follow on LinkedIn will ultimately tell recruiters and hiring managers what your passion is. It will infer the sort of organizations you'd like to work for. So as you build out your profile, be mindful of the number of companies that you follow. Be mindful of the influencers you follow, because these will ultimately tell a story around where you are in your career journey, who you'd like to work for, and where you're gaining more knowledge to help you stand out. So it's important that we follow companies on LinkedIn so that we can now get firsthand information from them. As I said earlier on, when you follow a person, or when you connect with someone, or when you follow an organization, that is what you're getting on your LinkedIn feed. So if you're not getting value from somebody, or you find that you're not receiving the type of content that's related to the career, industry, or aspirations that you have, that you should go back into your profile settings or go into your search bar and start following organizations that will help you grow, or people that will help you gain access to those new economic opportunities we spoke about earlier. Skills and endorsements. This is going right back to Keegan's question. How important are they? Skills and endorsements are super important. I can't overemphasize that. Here's what you can do with your skills and endorsements. First of all, have a list of the skills that you have. Secondly, your first degree connections will then start going in and endorsing you on those particular skills. Remember, only your first degree connections can endorse you, which means it pays us to connect up with people in the same industry, same university, or in companies that we aspire to work for. Better yet, let's connect with the people that know us best, because by them endorsing you, this helps recruiters understand the skill that you say you have and what the public has publicly authenticated that you have as a skill set. As a pro tip, you should also consider recommendations. These are super powerful. Recommendations as a student could come from your professor, your lecturer, or even from fellow students. As a pro tip here, I would discourage you from trading recommendations. It looks a bit cheesy. What you might want to do is, if I'm reaching out to a professor, I might want to type out to my professor and let him know, dear professor, I'm asking for a recommendation for the volunteer work I did last semester. I want you specifically, please, to highlight my project management skills. I've typed this out in the body below. Please feel free to put your own voice to it and send it back to me. Once they've done that, you will have a choice to now look at that recommendation and add it to your profile. And the beauty about this is that this strengthens your profile. As you know, on your resume, you typically won't have your recommendations, but on LinkedIn, you have that opportunity. Don't let it pass you. I see Marius has joined us. Hi, Marius. How you doing?
Great, and you, Stuart.
Fine, thank you. How are we tracking for time? And what are some of those first initial feedbacks on the poll we ran?
So it's almost time for the second poll. I think you're going to share one more tip, and then we'll delve into the poll results and tackle the first two questions.
Super. So let me get on to the one more slide, and then we can now go into the poll results. This one is a super important one because a lot of people have given me feedback as I've traveled across Africa and talking to many universities. They've given me feedback that this is probably the toughest thing to do, which is about talking about yourself, your elevator pitch. So, here's some pro tips of how to do this. First of all, like in any interaction, introduce yourself. So, hello, I'm Stuart. Then next, tell people what it is that you do. And then thirdly, tell them why it should matter. Invoke an emotion because after all, your brand is going to be representing you when you're not in the room. So a pro tip here is to story tell. Who am I? What do I do? And why it should matter. You might even want to consider putting in what your aspirations are so that again the world understands where you're going from a career perspective. A pro tip here is for you to not use buzzwords like focus, collaborative, hardworking. After all, we all are that. What you might want to do is consider using industry terminology for the job or the area that you want to work in, talking about the skills that companies are looking for, and ultimately engage someone by a bit of storytelling. This is your opportunity to tell your story. You might want to reach out to friends, professors, and those that you consider confident to look at it before you go and publish it. And don't forget, it's a living part of your LinkedIn profile, so you can always come back and change it should your career aspirations change. And a pro tip around this is, of course, maybe consider using hashtags as everything on LinkedIn is based on algorithms, and maybe those hashtags will help surface your profile. With that, Marius, I'd like to ask how we're doing, and of course, what has been the results from the first Slido Q&A.
Hey, everybody. So as Stuart mentioned, I am an alumnus of the university, and I still find great value in networking with my fellow alumni on LinkedIn today, looking at business opportunities, connecting with my peers, and even staying in touch with my lecturers. So the first results for the poll are quite interesting. If we look at ranking your top priority, we've seen a good spread across the board. Choose a career, 12%, research companies, 12%, contact people who can help, 15%, which is obviously the greatest opportunity on LinkedIn, and then at a whopping 56% search for jobs. So
nobody wants to have fun, Marius?
Nobody wants to have fun. They just want to have jobs. So that is a great opportunity, Stuart. And then from the audience questions, I think we can delve into the first two, maybe, and we'll save the rest for the second Q&A session as well as the final one. So just from Keegan, how important are skill endorsements on LinkedIn, and is it better to have a few and impactful skills or many and detailed skills?
So my answer to that question is, of course, as I said, skills and endorsements are important. As a pro tip, I'd encourage you to highlight the skills that you have, which address the opportunities and, of course, the things that people are looking for. What you can do for yourself is change the ranking of those particular skills. Oftentimes, we would have on our profiles the more common and generic skill sets like Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, for example. But what you want to highlight is the new age skills that companies are looking for. So you can drag and drop your skill sets in terms of what's more important to you so that your first degree connections can go in and endorse you for those skills that are new age and digital and that people are looking for. I hope that answers the question, Marius.
Fantastic. Then the second question we have is from Cliff. How can one get the best value from LinkedIn Premium? I've had a premium account for a few months now, and it doesn't seem to have added any value so far.
I'm surprised. I think with premium, the most powerful thing, or in fact, so many powerful things. One is the access to LinkedIn Learning. At the end of the session, I'm going to provide some LinkedIn Learning for free. So do stay on and do stay connected on this session, because we will be providing tips on how to provide jobs, learning on how to provide jobs, and for those of you who are entrepreneurs, how you can manage your business better by taking on some key learning. The other thing with your premium account is that it gives you insights. So if you're currently a job seeker right now and you are applying or thinking of applying for a job, when you have LinkedIn Premium, you can see who's applied for that job in terms of the demographics, what is the highest level of skill or education, how you rank your profile against what that company is looking for. This is super important because this stops us from being chances, randomly applying for so many jobs and likewise receiving rejection and of course disappointment. The LinkedIn Premium allows you to have a look and say, for this job, I have 3 of the 10 skills. There's 4 people with first degrees. There's 60 people that have MBAs, and there's 4 people that have a PhD. That gives you an opportunity to understand what skills you need to grow to apply for jobs like that, or even what are possibly your chances of getting that job. All this information empowers and enriches your LinkedIn experience. But I've got a slide on LinkedIn Premium that I will speak to later on. Can I continue?
Brilliant. So before you continue, the second poll is now live. So if you can go to the next slide, Stuart. What topics do you want to hear about next, everybody? How to be a thought leader, how to network and connect, leveraging groups, publishing on LinkedIn, and then South African data and insights. Again, if you want to take part in this poll or ask any questions, please go to slido.com and use the hashtag LeadUP27May. Stuart, back to you.
Superb. We're planning with the University of Pretoria to hold a second session where we go more in depth around the topics that matter to you. UP listens. UP is trying to enable its students, graduates, and alumni to be successful in terms of getting access to jobs. So by you giving us this feedback, we're able to tailor the content specifically to you. So please use the Slido. And as I said earlier on, the hashtag is LeadUP27May. Now let's talk about launching your career and getting you access to a phenomenal network and a community of people that can either help coach you, mentor you, provide investment opportunities, or more importantly, give us access to jobs. How do we do that? Well, the second thing I talked about today about what was important on your profile was the fact that you needed to make sure that you're connected to the university, that you're connected to the alumni. And we said earlier on that as a pro tip, you would go into your profile, click the pencil to edit your education, and that you would go and let LinkedIn help you type ahead the full name of the organization so that the brand logo for University of Pretoria appears on your profile. Once that's done, if you go onto LinkedIn and you search for University of Pretoria, you're going to find this type of a screen where you've got several tabs that will give you access to several pieces of information. The first one you'll find is, of course, the homepage where you'll find all the things. And here I'm specifically, if I just move to my screen, I'm specifically referring to these menu options on the left. You'll find on your home screen all the updates that are coming through from the institution. And of course, if you follow the University of Pretoria, you'll be one of the first to receive information as they send it out. Secondly, you're going to find the About section, which will provide demographic details about the institution. The Life one, which is important, will tell you what it is like to work there, what the culture is, what the values are. And of course, you'll then move on to the next tab, which will show you the types of jobs that are currently available. I'll dig into this a little bit deeper when we go into our next set of slides. But the one I want to draw your attention to right now is the alumni. This is such a powerful thing because not only would it show you as part of the alumni, but it will help you as a student start creating a proper career strategy. Finding out who are the people who graduated from our university, what they studied, where they live, where they work, and are we connected or not? So that ultimately, if you play with these filters to highlight the people, say, for example, in financial services, living in Johannesburg, and who graduated in the last 5 years, you can now start reaching out to them meaningfully. Reaching out and putting reference to the fact that we studied the same course. I'm currently a student, and I'm looking to get an informational interview from you, or for you to just give me time to chat so I can ask you about your career trajectory and some of the pro tips you would share with me to help me access new economic opportunities. So make sure that your university details are absolutely correct, because as you can see here, this is where the power comes in, where you're now able to go and find your alumni and be able to reach out to them meaningfully to start develop relationships that will help you access new economic opportunities. I talked about following companies. We talked about following the University of Pretoria, for example. Now let's think about our commercial institutions, the organizations you'd like to work for, perhaps, or perhaps even network and partner with as a partner. Here's a pro tip. If you start following organizations, their content will ultimately be the things that you receive on your LinkedIn feed. So if you want to have a great experience in terms of scrolling through your LinkedIn timeline and feed, you want to ensure that it's content that's coming from companies that you care about, companies that can help you as an individual. So click to follow the organizations, because this, again, as we said earlier, infers to our recruiters, infers to our hiring managers, infers to our partners how much we are passionate about particular topics, particular subjects, and particular organizations. This gives us a picture in terms of where you're likely to end up in your career. So go on and follow companies on LinkedIn. And as I said, as a pro tip, there's that button written Life. Just highlighting it over here. This Life button here will give you insights into that organization, what they stand for, what are their values, what is their culture, and maybe you even get some great photographs that take you behind the scenes so you can understand what the work environment is like. By looking at some of these photographs, it will help you dress right for the occasion as you understand their culture and how they approach work. You want to follow influencers. Influencers on LinkedIn are there. Influencers are people who LinkedIn has looked at and found to have been worthy of being given the title of influencer. These are thought leaders, usually industry captains. So please, I've put the URL there so that you can go after this session and go and do a search and choose some influencers to follow. The program is an invite-only program, so applications are currently not being taken. This is based on analytics and data that LinkedIn has. But you are an influencer. You have a story as a student. The experiences you've gone through your internship, or even funding your education, all of that is content that you can share on LinkedIn that will ultimately lead to you being an influencer. Maybe not without the badge, but definitely to influence your network, your peers, and perhaps even the people you aspire to work for. The other thing you can do on LinkedIn to help you grow your knowledge is to join specific groups. There are well over millions of groups on LinkedIn that you can join, which are based on niche areas or industries. So go in and do that search based on the industry that you want to work in. So as I gave an example earlier, if it was the donut industry, do a search. There will be a group for the donut industry where like-minded professionals come together. Here's a couple of pro tips in terms of how we should behave in these groups. Manners make it the man, even in the digital world. Well, once you join a group, I tend to spend more time trying to understand the tone, trying to understand what people are sharing, trying to understand who is contributing, and maybe even a reason for me to connect up with that particular individual. Every day, each and every one of us has an opportunity to wake up and be a student or to be a teacher. I would say when you go into groups, take the mindset of a student first. Go in to learn, go in to listen, go in to understand how people are sharing their problems and what kind of responses they're receiving back. Ultimately, after a bit of time, you will have confidence to now start sharing your experiences and your point of view. And with LinkedIn, this is an environment where we encourage you to at least put out your perspective, but be willing to take other people's point of views. It's a great place to stay up to date. It's a great place even to ask questions as you prepare for your interview. Because guess what? It's a network of professionals who are like-minded and professionals who are willing to help. Each one teach one. So ask the question and give thanks and acknowledgement should you receive a response. If you should find that the response is negative, or the responses to this in the groups or even to your post can be as abusive, this does happen on the rare occasion, please feel free to report it to LinkedIn so that we can either block, investigate, or take further action with that type of content. Again, if you should find anyone is sending you content that you find inappropriate, it's all about you. You can block or report that person so that you don't continue to receive their information and they don't continue to see your information. It's all about you. So the things to remember when it actually comes to groups is to listen and learn, demonstrate your knowledge, grow your network, and look for those insider tips that will come from you participating. I'm not going to go into more detail in the interest of time. I'd like to spend a little bit more time on the things that give you superpowers. In terms of what will give you a superpower on LinkedIn, I personally think being a thought leader is what will make you stand out. It's all well and good to create your profile and to ensure that you've populated the things that matter. And we've talked about this: your photograph, your education, your industry, your location, your work experience, your volunteer experience. Those are some of the very basics of getting your profile going. But in order to harness the power of LinkedIn and the power of social media, one can start sharing information on the platform. What do you share as a student? Well, with updates, you can share what's happening right now. You could also be reflective since we're all in lockdown or we're staying at home and staying in and safe. You could start looking at your content or your photograph that you have stored on your phone and put it into the context of what you could teach your network, or in reflection to a time that has passed. What you might want to do here from a pro tip perspective is to use hashtags, as this will help your post then stand out when people do those searches based on that hashtag. But for a real superpower, especially as a student, if you think about it, typically, most of us, when we apply for a job, we put in a cover letter. Well, with LinkedIn, you can use your publishing capability as a way to frame up what we would normally put in your cover letter. I'm not saying publish an article as your cover letter, but what I'm saying is write about the things you're passionate about. Write about the things that you know best. Write about the experiences that you've had as a student, whether it was in raising funds for you to go to school, whether it is the things that you've learned, or whether it's your perspective as a young person looking at an industry. Write those articles, because if you write an article, it stays with your profile. So your profile, if we're to think of the old traditional way, it would be your resume, and the articles you write would be your cover letters. And I say that with inverted commas, as I'm not asking you to take it literally. So start looking at how other people are writing articles. Think about what is currently happening in your world. What is topical right now? What unique perspective can you share? And of course, as a pro tip, you want to have between 800 to a maximum of probably 2,000 words in it. If people would like to find out more, let's say, for example, you've decided to write a short summary based on the school project you're working on, your thesis, or a paper that you've had published, you might want to make it succinct on LinkedIn and then now provide a URL that will give people access to the full document. You might want to even embed rich media like videos and photographs so that your audience doesn't move away from your profile. They consume and read that article that you've written, but stay embedded in your profile. The beauty with writing articles, like I said, is that it stays with your profile forever. So updates will disappear, but articles will stay with us and will stay with our platform for a long time going forward. So make sure to use these as they are super powerful. I see we've got a couple of questions, but in the interest of time, I'll move along and then we can get into these questions a little bit later. So for our job seekers and those who are currently looking for jobs, here's a couple of pro tips on what you can do to help yourself find new economic opportunities. LinkedIn is like driving a beautiful car. Think about it. Let's close our eyes for a minute. Let's think of the most prestigious, beautiful car that you've ever wanted to own. If you were to get that car, as you enter into it, there's a couple of modifications and adjustments you'll make to the wing mirrors, to your seat, to even the radio station or even the sound that you want to hear. So likewise, your LinkedIn profile is that beautiful vehicle. A lot of us don't take the time to go in to edit our preferences and our settings. So here's a pro tip. When we finish this session, go into your settings and you'll see this on your top right-hand corner. Click on your photograph that's in that corner and go to settings. Under settings and under privacy, you will then get to put in your job seeking preferences. What job are you looking for? What titles appeal to you? Which geographies would you like to work in? And what kind of employment are you looking for? Part-time, volunteer, full-time, internship, you can all put it here. This stops us from looking thirsty on LinkedIn, as if when we go in and we put this into our main public profile, it just kind of looks desperate. Let's put it into these settings because recruiters get to see the things that we write here. Take a minute to write a short note in your job settings to say, preferably, these are the types of jobs I'm looking for. I'm currently doing my final year and I will graduate on this date and I'm open to opportunities. Again, our recruiters are busy people. When they're looking for people, they use advanced features to show and identify people that are following their brand, people that are currently open for opportunities, and people that are willing to relocate, amongst other preferences. So please take the time after this session to go in and set up your personal preferences and ensure that you will be set up for success. You asked me a little bit earlier about, of course, our premium. If you think about it, like I said, with premium, you get advanced analytics. So as you can see on the screen here, it will tell you whether you're a top applicant for a job or not. You can go in and discover more about premium after this session. There are several premium packages available out there, some to address your career concerns, your business, sales, or even hiring. So definitely after this session, whether you're looking to hire people, whether you're looking to be hired, or whether you're trying to accelerate your business by selling and marketing it, you can go in and get a LinkedIn premium account that suits you. And of course, as students, we are going to go for interviews. And as we're going for interviews, we want to prepare and make sure we're ready for them. So Here's something you can do on your LinkedIn. If you go to your job settings, one of the tabs you're going to find is a tab that says that will help you prepare for interviews. Click on the More button, and there you'll find some questions that you can respond to. Some of these you can share with your network to get their responses in terms of, this is what I said, is it appropriate? Or the LinkedIn artificial intelligence machine will come back to you and give you some algorithm-based responses of what was the best possible answer and how you fared against it. So please, as you prepare for interviews, just know that LinkedIn has provided this. Whether you have a LinkedIn premium account or not, you'll be able to prepare for your interviews by looking at some of the more common questions that have been asked. And now, for the ladies that are watching this is a personal soapbox moment for me. I encourage you ladies to apply for roles, because here's what the data is telling us. And it's startling, and it's also mind-boggling. It tells us that, for example, women are 16% less likely to apply for a job than men. This is worrying. And the data tells us that women will typically apply for a role if they feel that they're 90% and above suited for the role. Whereas men, at 60% competency or skill level, they will still apply for the job. What's more important is that I've also found out from the data that we've garnered that women are less likely to ask for referrals. We talked about recommendations earlier on. Please reach out to your network and they will refer you for jobs. Because guess what? Recruiters are more likely to consider profiles based on internal recommendations from people that are currently working for the organization. There's other statistics I've shared here that will also tell you that when women apply, they're more likely to get the jobs. I want us to wrap up now by sharing a couple of things that are going to help you take action immediately after this. So here are the most in-demand soft skills that companies are looking for. I will share some learning which will help you address some of these soft skills that companies are looking for. And of course, once you finish that learning, ensure you add it to your profile so that you show organizations that you have the skills that they're looking for. Based on last year's poll, here's some of the critical hard skills that we found that organizations are advertising for and are hiring for. So in order to equip yourself and to get you the right skills, you have an option to subscribe to LinkedIn Learning. You have an option to subscribe to LinkedIn Learning through a premium account or directly, or even through the institution itself. But in this session, I wanted to highlight what you can get for free today. So with that, there are courses available to help you navigate the job market, especially during the times that we're going through. University of Pretoria, working with LinkedIn, has agreed on making these publicly available for you. So building out a job strategy, learning how to network, or just improving your interviewing skills, these will be available after this session for you. Secondly, if you're an entrepreneur and you're running your business and funds might be limited to expand and grow your team to address all parts of your business, you can acquire the critical skills that will help you and your organization thrive and survive. So there are critical courses that will help you manage your business, especially your finances. There are courses that will help you sustain and market your business. And of course, more importantly, there are courses that can help you deal with resilience, deal with emotional intelligence, and all the other pressures that we're all going through during this time. These courses, as I promised you earlier on, are available. And these courses, as you can see on the screen, are free and you don't have to pay for them. So if you are thinking of developing your career strategy, you can start looking at the courses that are available in that particular area. And of course, if you're running a business or thinking of setting up a business, there are courses that can help you maintain and set up that business. Marius, I see you're back on screen. How are you doing?
Great, Stuart. Thank you so much for all that amazing information. It was a pretty jam-packed hour, so well done on all of that. The last poll is up, and we'd obviously love to hear your feedback, everybody who's attending across all the different platforms. How likely are you to refer this LeadUP event to business colleagues and other alumni? On a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being very unlikely, 10 being extremely likely, please share those results with us, how you felt, and if there's any improvements. We don't have a lot of time, Stuart. I think we'll answer a lot of the Q&A after the session in an FAQ with everybody. I just want to give the most, maybe just the 2 questions that have got the most upvotes. So the first one is from Jeremy. Is there a risk of looking overqualified?
I don't think there's a risk of looking overqualified. The more broad range of skills that you bring, the more investment you make into yourself will set you up better for success. So no, I don't believe there's a risk in looking overqualified.
Okay, amazing. And then from Shannon, this is probably the best question. So how can we really navigate and utilize LinkedIn in these COVID times to our advantage?
Social leadership, telling your story, sharing your perspective. This is the time for us to tell our story. This is the time for us to be heard. As people are in lockdown or are staying home, a lot of them are spending time on the platform. And here's the beauty with LinkedIn. It is the world's most trusted platform because we use our real faces. And of course, we use our real details in terms of the schools we went to, the jobs that we've had, and it's a self-regulating and governing environment where if the information is untrue, someone is bound to report it. So right now, when people are focused on getting quality content that is truthful, that enables them, you'll find that they will be on LinkedIn more often than they will be on any other platform. And here, in terms of social leadership, I want to share with you my 5 tips on how to do that. Number 1, educate. Number 2, empower someone. Number 3, excite someone on what is possible. Number 4, don't forget to engage your audience. Respond. Let people share their point of view and compliment people when they do something right. And don't forget to endorse and give other people recommendations. And lastly, if you can, use edutainment. Edutainment is a process of sharing a thought or a process by putting a spin to it, putting some humor to it. So guys, there you have it. The tips that will help you grow your brand and your presence. It's so much more than just building out a personal profile. It's about writing those articles and sharing those articles and engaging with your network. So that's my pro tip.
Stuart, thank you very much. I'm going to sign off as we wrap up this session. So from our side, thank you very, very much. Stuart, will you close us out?
I'd like to thank the University of Pretoria for helping us facilitate this session. Thank you very much for allowing us to be the first to do a live stream off your page. We would like to encourage the students, the graduates, and the alumni of the University of Pretoria to please follow the organization, to go in and understand where the alumni is, and to leverage that network that can help you access new economic opportunities. This has been a recorded session. At UP, we're all about sharing. We're all about innovating. We're all about growing the communities around us. So if you found some of this content useful, please take the time to educate and empower somebody. It's all about building a better Africa. And we can only do that when we work together. Thank you very much, University of Pretoria, for everything. And of course, you who participated in this. I know we had so many other questions, which we did not get to in this session. And that's why we encourage you to use the Slido so that we can set up another session that is more meaningful and directed at the things you worry and are concerned about. We know you can be successful on this platform because there's hundreds, millions of people that have gone before you to access new jobs, to access new economic opportunities by leveraging LinkedIn. I didn't get to tell my story, but I'm 4 jobs deep thanks to LinkedIn. I hope you've gotten some tips. I hope you're inspired, and I hope you will take this knowledge to go out there and inspire someone. It's time to shine. Let's do it.